One of my favorite upgrades to complement the fishiness of this Mirage Passport 12 is the EVA deck pad kit. It provides sound dampening and traction, and it looks great on the kayak. Once you've got the deck prepped and cleaned and ready for the EVA, the installation is pretty straightforward. One tool that helps a lot is an industrial carpet roller. We'll show you that in the video. You can also add some pressure to help the EVA pads adhere to the deck by standing and walking on it. When you're sticking down the EVA, pay extra special attention to the edges of the padding. You'll want to make sure those adhere the strongest out of any place on the padding. To start the install, you'll want to peel up all of the standard EVA padding. So there's 2 standing pads in the cockpit. You'll want to peel those up, and you'll notice that I've already added the rectangular hatch in the center of the cockpit. I'm not going to pad that because when I stick the EVA kit down, it's going to even out the standing area, and that'll be very comfortable for my feet, and it'll help my balance when I stand up in the kayak. This kit comes with both solid round pieces to pad the flats that you can add hatches to, and it also comes with the pad for the round hatch that comes standard in the center of the cockpit. I've taken that round hatch out of the center of the cockpit and moved it back to the aft cargo deck. I'm going to use this pad to pad the 8-inch round hatch that I've put in the cargo deck to dampen that sound coming from the live well or as I get in and out of my H-crate with tackle boxes. The 8-inch round hatch I've added in the bow is where I'm going to house my battery. I'm not going to get into that much, so I'm going to choose to leave the padding off of that one. But you do have both options. So if you've installed no extra hatches, you're just going to use these 11-inch round solid pads with the Hobie Flying H on it. The first thing I'm going to do before I start prepping the deck to stick the padding down is I'm just going to kind of work the edges of these standard pads up, and I'm just going to peel them right away. If you have a little adhesive left on the deck, you can remove that with rubbing alcohol or your acetone. Working with chemicals, you want to be sure to wear a nitrile glove. I like these, they're a little more durable than the latex gloves. And so I'll use these for prepping the surface, and also be sure that you're working in a well-ventilated area. I'm using some acetone to get the first step of the cleaning done, and I'm just going to wipe from bow to stern, removing this bungee. Once you're done with the acetone, it is a good idea to follow it up with standard rubbing alcohol, and that'll get any of the sediment or oil away. Even with a brand new kayak, it's important to go through this process of cleaning the deck. In the manufacturing process, it's possible that there's some oils or things like that that can seep out of the plastic, and especially when they're removing the kayak from the mold. So you want to be sure to get this surface clean and dry. With a large piece like this, it's good to peel about 6 inches of the backing off and stick that down. It's a little bit easier to get it aligned accurately, and you won't have to worry about peeling up an entire section of padding to readjust it. So once I've got that front piece stuck down there, I'll actually just peel the rest of the backing off. And I'm not going to add any pressure until I've got it exactly where I want it. Just make sure it's lined up evenly around the edges of the hatch. And when you're pushing this down, I like to first do it by hand, and then I'll follow it up with my roller to squeeze out any potential air bubbles that might be in there. But when I'm doing this with my hand, I'm just pressing down right in the center of each of the major surface areas. You don't want to adhere the very edges first because it might trap air bubbles in the center of the pads. So now that I've got it stuck down, I'm gonna come in with my roller and put some extra pressure on it there. You can hear some air bubbles coming out from time to time. That's a good thing. If you are having a little bit of trouble getting the pads to stick, a little bit of heat works. So just a standard heat gun. So I'm kind of making sure I get the center of the pads and pushing out any of the air bubbles. And then I'm really going to focus on the edges. Moving back to the cockpit area, I'm going to lay all my pieces in here, but I'm actually going to stick the standing pads down first and align them just around the cup holder indentations. And then these forward pieces, I'll know exactly where those go. For these pieces, I'll just carefully lay them down and peel the backing off all at once. And I like to get an overhead view of these just so I can make sure that they're going down around the features in the boat. And I'm gonna go right up against the edge of the hatch there. And again, pressure on the center of the pad first. And then when you come in with your roller, you'll want to roll from the center out as well. You can pad the cup holders if you choose. You don't have to use every single piece in the kit, but I like to pad the cup holders because setting a water bottle down or a hydro flask in there, that can be pretty noisy. This forward cockpit pad's gonna go next. And I like to leave a little spacing between the pads for the water to drain into and out of the Mirage drive well. These little pads can be comfortable up here if you end up on your knees releasing a fish from up this far in the kayak, or if you need to access the bow hatch that we've installed here. There's some extra pieces in the kit that aren't applying to my installation because I've added the rectangular hatch kit in the center of the cockpit. If you have the standard hatch configuration with the 8-inch round hatch right in front of the seat, you would lay this down on top of that hatch, and then these sets of pads will surround the hatch, kind of finishing out the deck padding in the cockpit area. So to give you an idea, I'll kind of just place these on top of that rectangular hatch, how they would be configured if you have the standard hatch configuration, so you can see the coverage that you'd get there. I like the utility that I get out of the rectangular hatch because I store my tackle for the day in there. I've gone ahead and added that and placed the other padding around it. My next step here is to add these slivers to the tackle trays. And although it makes the tackle tray slightly shallower, I do feel like it keeps stuff from rolling around. And so something like a jig head is gonna rest right in the channels along the sides, and then it'll stay quiet when it's in there. These ones are small enough you can kind of press down with your thumb. Again, paying special attention to the edges. You get a strong installation there. And then I've got the longer one for the long tackle tray on the starboard side of the kayak. I'm gonna lay that one in. Now that we're done with that, we're ready to move into the cargo area where I'm gonna use that 8-inch round hatch pad on this hatch back here that I've added. So I'll start with that. I'm gonna peel the entire backing off of this hatch pad. And I'm gonna get a nice overhead view on it and make sure that the installation is exact on both sides before I really put pressure on it and stick it down. And I'm gonna use the roller for this one because you have a little bit more surface area here. I'm gonna start from the back of the kayak on this one, and I'm gonna peel up just the backing that surrounds the 8-inch hatch. I'm gonna make sure I get that lined up nicely, and then the rest of the pads lay between these drain channels. And so once I've got the padding aligned properly to the features in the cargo deck, I'm going to peel the rest of the backing up, and I'm going to hold that just like so and kind of stick it down from the aft end moving up toward the center of the cockpit. Help me avoid getting air bubbles in there. Apply some pressure with your roller or by standing on it and pushing down. After experiencing the comfort and the quietness of adding EVA deck padding to my fishing kayaks, I'll always do it from here on out. It adds a little bit more comfort, it looks great with the added contrast against the deck, and I believe it gets bit a little bit better. The gray with black trim is the official Hobie option for EVA deck padding your Passport 12. It looks great with either seagrass or slate. For other full rigging and installation videos, check out and subscribe to Hobie's YouTube channel. Also visit Hobie.com and click on the Where to Buy button, where you can find your local dealer for all your rigging needs.